Hi everyone, welcome back to this exhaustive 2-hour-long review of Mario Kart World. My throat is about to collapse and I'm sure my potato of a computer is about to explode, and I don't know if my internet connection will bear it. But if you're listening to this right now, that means that, fingers crossed, my computer didn't explode and the internet just about held up long enough to allow me to get this vitally important information to you. In the last episode, we talked extensively about Mario Kart World, giving a real background of Mario Kart as a series, my feelings and hopes and expectations going in even before playing the game. We covered things like the box art and the logo and the name. We covered the first impressions, graphics, performance, the basic modes, standard Mario Kart fare. But this second part 2 of 2, by the way, don't worry, there's not going to be a third. By the end of this hour, you will have the complete verdict. This second part is going to cover the more controversial and more interesting parts of Mario Kart World. We're going to talk about the Knockout Tour. We're going to talk about free roam mode, the online play. We're going to cover all the things that I like about Mario Kart World, and we're going to cover all the things that I hate about Mario Kart World, and then we're going to summarize. We're going to talk about, is it worth your $80? And perhaps even more importantly, is it worth going out right now and buying a Switch 2 system just to play this game? Is it an essential purchase? Can we wait? Or can we skip this one? Or can we just go back to Mario Kart 8 and carry on playing as we always have done? That's what we're going to find out here. So let me just read the introduction and then we can get right on into it. Hi everyone, welcome to Daily Switch 2, a podcast covering everything related to the Nintendo Switch 2 with at least one new episode uploaded per day to YouTube, Spotify, and your favorite major platforms. My name is Sam, and I've been a gamer since the 1980s. I've worked in the entertainment industry since I was a teenager, including as a games journalist, producer of gaming documentaries and shows, and I'm even programming multiple indie video games, including 4, which will be released on the Switch and hopefully Switch 2, so be sure to subscribe and follow the show for the world-exclusive news on those as they drop. However, I'm a gamer and Nintendo fan at heart, and this podcast is purely a passion project for me to talk about the stuff that interests and excites me about this new system. It's not monetized or funded by any entity. It's completely unofficial and unbiased so that I can give my full, frank, honest opinions. So if you want to support me or just find out the best places to get these free daily podcasts, all links are in the bio and at linktree/dailyswitch2. That's linktr.ee/dailyswitch2. Thank you so much, and back to the episode. Okay, so let's jump right back into the review with my feelings on the brand new Knockout Tour mode. We also have the Knockout Tour, and the Knockout Tour is where this whole kind of 24 players really comes into play. I guess it works like a kind of battle royale of within a tournament. You have 24 and people get knocked out and knocked out and knocked out and knocked out, and you know, it's good. It's good. My concern is, again, I like to just be able to have a game that I know that if I'm playing an arcadey style game, I like to be able to just know that I can just turn on a game and play it for 5 minutes, 10 minutes, have some fun, and then turn it off. Obviously, you're not going to do that if you're going through a whole tour and there's 24 of you and you're working all the way down to see who wins. If you're rubbish at the game, it can be over in 5 minutes. But if you're good at the game, you know, you're probably going to sit down and play for an hour. But you know, to many people that will be a good thing because it adds, you know, more depth and more variety and more longevity, and it feels more substantial. I've got to say, it does add a really interesting element where you have a real kind of sense of tension of of having played for such a long time and won your way down, you really, really, really don't want to get knocked out. If you have got all the way down to the last 5, you've spent a substantial amount of time playing, and you don't want to suddenly get knocked out at that point. So it does add an element of tension and suspense, but kind of in a good way. You're on the edge of your seat, like hoping that you can do well, and trying to get better, and I can imagine that those 24 player knockout tours online against 23 other people rather than bots or whatever is going to be really, really cool for those people who are into playing online games a lot. But again, I mostly am a single player and local multiplayer kind of person, but we'll get into the multiplayer later. The big thing though that people are going to want to talk about is the free roam mode. Free roam mode, basically, all the courses in this game are interconnected. They kind of lead into each other, with interconnected roads going in between, but there's like a real map, and you can imagine if this was real life, I know exactly where these courses are in relation to each other. And once I finish this course, okay, the other course is close to it, or the other course leads on from it, or there's a straight road that leads from this course to another course. And within the Grand Prix and the knockout tour, it's kind of a gimmick. But within the free roam mode, it becomes a bit more interesting because, as the name implies, free roam means that you can drive around and you can explore, and you can go wherever you want without time restrictions and without racing against other people. So you can explore and you can try and find stuff. A little bit like what I said about that Cars game on the PS2, which I did enjoy. And similar to the Cars game on the PS2 that I enjoyed, there's lots of hidden things to find, lots of collectibles, and you can find challenges. You find P switches, which give you challenge missions. There are lots of collectibles dotted around the place, like Peach, Princess Toadstool. Peach has medals, medallions, whatever they are, and there are question blocks, block panels, and the like. The challenges and things that you get to do, I was about to say they're fun, and then I stopped myself because some of them aren't. A lot of them are very kind of either they're just so easy that you do them, but you complete the challenge by accident without even thinking about it, or other ones are very simple, very monotonous, and I feel like the variety isn't quite there yet, and I feel like they're not as creative as I would expect from Nintendo. And also the rewards that you get are not always particularly inspiring. For the majority of the time, you are collecting stickers, which can be used to customize your vehicles and your parts. None of them are that interesting or that exciting to me, but maybe that's just me. Maybe that's me. And I'm sure there will be some people that get really obsessed and want to collect all of them, and it's the most fun thing ever. If you have that kind of collector's mindset of you tick them all off and okay, and I need to find the... Yeah, okay, cool. And it definitely does add a lot of replay value and a lot of... well, I was going to say variety, but again, it's not really variety, because a lot of the missions are fairly samey. This goes back to what I said earlier about the Mario Kart 8 Deluxe, when they started adding many courses, and some of the courses were great and other of the courses weren't as good. It's like some people will have the mindset of You're getting extra content. Why are you complaining about extra content? But for me, if some of the content is amazingly good and some of the content is yawnably average, overall it brings the feeling of polish down, and it makes the game maybe feel rushed in places or under-designed. And rushed and under-designed is not usually something that we're used to saying about Nintendo first-party games, especially not one that has taken 11 years to come out. I don't know. It's a little bit strange, but I do see from reviews that I'm not the only person that feels this way. So please don't get too mad at me. I know there will be some people listening to this who are fanboys who just want me to say that everything is 100% perfect. No, just because everything's not 100% perfect doesn't mean I hate the game. I don't. I like the game. I think people should buy it. I think people will have fun with the game. I have fun with the game. I'm going to play it a lot. I'm going to be playing it for years to come. I just hope maybe that the game gets updated over time and more and better challenges get added. Another thing that I hesitate because, you know, this feels like the second time that I've compared Sonic to Mario. And that's a silly thing to do because I'll sound like a Sonic fanboy. And it's a ridiculous thing to do because overall Mario games are always more polished than Sonic games. But I'm thinking about recently, or fairly recently, Sonic Frontiers. There were certain parts of that game that were very sparse and felt unfinished or felt not great. But then they released updates, and with the updates, they managed to fix a lot of that. And I really respected the director of that game. He would talk to fans on Twitter, and he'd come out and he'd say, right, what don't people like? Oh, okay, let's fix this area. Let's fix this part of the game. And I can foresee that with Mario Kart World. Maybe Mario Kart World, especially with the open world nature of it, perhaps over time there can be updates and other areas will be built. Like if there's an area that's particularly sparse at the moment, maybe, you know, a family of Goombas will move in and build a new business or plant a garden or something. And you know, the areas might evolve over time. But of course we don't know that right now, do we? So I can only go with what we've got so far. And what I can tell you is in the free roam mode, it's a really interesting idea. I want to love it. I want to, but I don't know. I don't know, man. I said I don't know, man, twice in the last podcast, and when I went back editing it together, I realized I sounded like Scott the Woz when he's doing his Scott Stash rambles. But yeah, literally, that's how I feel. Not I feel like Scott the Woz, but I feel like I don't know what to say. It's like it's not terrible. It's not terrible, the free roam mode, and there's lots to like about it. What do I like about it? I'll tell you what I like. I like the fact that some of the missions, some of the challenges, are basically like stealth tutorials that end up teaching you new techniques, and we'll get on to the new techniques later. But you basically have kind of parkour style moves and different racing techniques and things. And some of the missions, they don't outright say this is a tutorial, but you can afterwards you realize, oh, I've learnt something, and now if I do that in races, maybe that'll help me to be a bit faster, or it'll help me to get out of that situation, or it'll help me to overtake that. You know, so that's cool. That's really well designed. That feels like the Nintendo that I know and love. Like going all the way back to the days of the first Super Mario Brothers on the NES, where it's like there isn't a tutorial, but the level is specifically designed to teach you everything that you need to know, all the building blocks of this is how the game works, and then it introduces things to you at a pace that you can understand, and then as time goes by, it then hits you with okay, now combine all the stuff that you've learned. Mario 64 was excellent at that as well. One of the best designed games of all time, in my opinion. At least the first half of that game. It's really interesting to be having this conversation about a Mario Kart game, because usually, you wouldn't even be thinking about a tutorial to learn techniques. So that shows that this game does have more variety and more depth. It's just when it doesn't, it doesn't. One thing that should have been an obvious problem, but I didn't really think about it until I started playing, was when you're racing. Obviously, in a Mario Kart game, if you veer off the track, if you veer off the course and off the tarmac and try and take a shortcut, or just accidentally go off the road, you slow down. You slow down if you're in sand, if you're in mud, if you're in grass. You slow down, right? Okay, that makes sense. It's punishing you for losing your racing line. But then you make it into an open world game where you can drive anywhere you want, and you're actively encouraged to try and find hidden things, but you still slow down every time you go off the beaten path. But it obviously wants you to go off the beaten path, because when you do, you find stuff. So that is incredibly frustrating to me. Maybe I'm missing something. Maybe there's a technique. Maybe there's some kind of jumping or parkour technique, or I don't know, or some kind of upgrade that you get later for your kart so that you don't slow down when you go, in more kind of rough areas. I don't know. Or maybe this is just the logic of, no, they have to have patience. But yeah, for me, it's frustrating that you slow down and you feel like sometimes you feel like you're in quicksand. And I found it actively discouraged me from exploring as much as I felt like I should be doing. Again, maybe that's just me. Maybe I'm missing something. This is a first impression, so maybe somebody can correct me in the comments, because that's not something that I've seen other people complain about. But for me, it's something that I definitely felt. So for me, as I said, I had a concern that I didn't want the entire game to be free roam. I didn't want the entire game to be open world. And it's not. We've got, the separate Grand Prix and everything, just like an old Mario Kart game. And this free roam almost kind of feels tacked on to the side. It's substantial, but if you don't want to play it, you could, arguably get great value out of the game and just never touch this mode whatsoever. It's not essential to play this mode, and for me that's a relief. But I think others might feel disappointed and feel that it's not as fleshed out an open world as, say, Breath of the Wild, the Tears of the Kingdom, or even a Bowser's Fury. Bowser's Fury is fantastic. I mean, for me, as I say, I'm not entirely keen on open world games when compared to level-based bite-sized challenges. I tend to prefer that. But if you're gonna do an open world Mario game, Bowser's Fury really shows how to do it. And I think a lot of people will have thought, oh, this is Monolith Soft have worked on this, and Nintendo got Monolith Soft to help in designing and programming this open world Mario Kart. And if you don't know, they're the developers of the Xenoblade RPG games, enormous, big, sprawling RPG games. This is nowhere near as expansive as a Xenoblade game or a Breath of the Wild or whatever. So if that's what you're going in hoping for, you're going to be disappointed. And I have seen people getting disappointed. For me, I was disappointed, yes, but disappointed in the other way, in that I was actually relieved that the open worldness isn't so substantial. Because for me that wasn't what I wanted. But so I was relieved. But when I say I was just disappointed in the other way, I guess I disappointed because of the lack of coherence of like I say, it feels like it's a tacked on kind of mode, rather than being the whole game. The game doesn't quite know what it wants to be, or it's afraid to throw itself wholeheartedly into its new idea. So you end up with a game of two halves, and for me, the more traditional half is the one that I enjoy more. But I have a feeling that other people are going to go into it wanting to spend most of their time in the free roam, and being disappointed that it feels a little bit sparse, a little bit samey, and a little bit not as fleshed out and designed as it should be. I'm not going to go as far as to say that there's large portions of it which are procedurally generated. I'm not going to say that because I don't know, but it wouldn't be incorrect to say that sometimes it feels like a Ubisoft open world game, and that's not a great thing to say when it comes to first party Nintendo game. I don't know. It's not a flattering comparison, so I'm sorry. Again, I don't hate this game. I like it. I really like it. Well, I really like lots of it. It's not as polished and perfect as I'd like it to be, and as I would have imagined it to be. It doesn't have that same, oh wow, everything about this is perfect, which is what I and many people felt when we first played Mario Kart 8. But this is bigger and more substantial and has more variety. So it's interesting. It's interesting to compare the two. I don't know. So I mentioned before that there's new mechanics in the game. There's new items in the game. I like the new hammer item. The new hammer item is really cool. But rather than talking about the items here, because this video is already going to be a very long video, I think at some point I will make a separate video breaking down all of the items, all of the characters, all of the tracks. So I'm not going to review all of the items, all of the tracks, all of the characters. I'm just going to say there's a lot of all of them. It's a good variety. There's some new stuff. There's some familiar stuff. Everything feels pretty good, but I've not played it enough yet to be able to say how balanced it feels compared to other games, or to be able to reliably say, yeah, on balance, I like the selection of tracks here better than another Mario Kart game. I've not played it enough to be able to say that yet, so I think that will be another video that comes later down the line. And again, this is just a hazard of Nintendo not allowing people to play the game early. So no reviewer has had very much time with the game. But with the time that I have had with the game, I like the tracks. I like the item balance. I especially like the new items. The new hammer is great, and the character roster is good as well. But one kind of set of new mechanics that I feel that we have to talk about is the kind of parkour system. We have style kind of tricks, predominantly grinding on various different things, and also kind of wall jumping and wall riding. It's funny because you can play a race and never do any of these things, and unless you're playing against expert players, you're still gonna have a chance of winning, especially with the items. There's always part of the thing with Mario Kart is there's always a chance that even if you're a beginner at the game, you might get an item that's really going to help you, or Mario Kart is never 100% about who is the best player. It's always okay. Even the worst player can have a chance to win if they get lucky with the items, and often it will be kind with the items, and it will give the most helpful items to the worst players or the most lagging players. So and it does that on purpose in order to be more fun as a multiplayer experience. But these new tricks that you can learn, They're really cool. They're a really interesting addition. They feel really satisfying to pull off when you get it right. And the grinding is really useful for finding different shortcuts, or especially in the free roam mode, to get to places that you wouldn't be able to get to otherwise. It almost turns it into a platform game, which is a really fun, interesting idea. Again, the problem is it's fun, it's a good idea, but it's not fully implemented. I guess because of the nature of the fact that we have races, especially with 24 players at once, and big open wide roads to accommodate those 24 players at once. There's not many opportunities to add areas that require skillful use of grinding and wall jumps and etc. So it's never required, and therefore it kind of feels underutilized and sometimes gimmicky. But when you do find somewhere that you can use it and you manage to pull it off, and it means that you end up, overtaking a few people, or unlocking something, finding something, it's really cool. It's really satisfying. So they haven't turned Mario Kart into Tony Hawk's or something like that, or an SSX game, but they've added those kind of elements that you can do if you want, and I think it feels more substantial than kind of previous kart racing games where you can do just tricks for style points, where you just do a 360 or whatever because it looks cool, and maybe it gives you a little speed boost or something, I don't know. But it's a cool mechanic, but if you didn't know it was there, you'd still be able to play. So therefore, does it really matter? I don't know. I'm mixed on it. But what I do imagine is that there's going to be some crazy speed runs, and if you get into the time trials, if you really get into trying to shave off milliseconds on your time trials, these tricks and shortcuts and everything are really going to come into play. And this is where we will see how well designed the courses are or aren't. I'm not able to judge that right now. I'm not an expert, and I've not played enough to be able to fully judge. But if the courses are designed well enough to take advantage of it, I can imagine that these new kind of parkour style tricks are going to add a really cool dimension. So I'm interested in that. I said I wasn't going to review the tracks, but I do kind of want to give a shout out to the DK Spaceport track. I don't know. I won't go into too many details or spoilers, but yeah, it's just a really cool track, based on the original Donkey Kong arcade game. And I'm very fond of Donkey Kong as a character and the Donkey Kong series, and of course we'll get into that in future episodes because we're going to be talking about Donkey Kong Bonanza. I'm a big Donkey Kong fan, and seeing that DK Spaceport course and with the robot monkey, it's really cool. It's really cool. So multiplayer, I said before that I'm not a big online multiplayer person, but I do love me some couch co-op, inviting friends round, or family gatherings, or playing with your kids. Like my kids are grown up now, but when my kids were young, all sitting around as a family and playing a 4-player Mario Kart with their mum, that was amazing. And I'm an only child, but I imagine with brothers and sisters and playing together, fantastic. For me, one of the saddest things about modern gaming is that most games don't include local multiplayer anymore. It's most games, if you say multiplayer mode, that means online. But I love me some multiplayer, whether it's some local multiplayer, whether it's cooperative or whether it's split screen. Just for me, there's nothing like being in the same room as somebody. Again, I don't want to sound like an old person yelling at clouds. I'm aware that Discord exists. But they included couch multiplayer and split screen, thank God, and it works well. There's no slowdown, etc. It works just as you'd want it to work. However, if you have 3 players or more in split screen, it does drop down to 30 frames per second. If you have 2-player split screen, it's 60 frames per second, but as soon as you have 3-player split screen, it drops down to 30 frames per second, and that is very noticeable. But I will say it's a locked 30 frames a second. There's no frame pacing, there's no frame skipping. It's still very smooth. It's extremely smooth. It just takes some getting used to. If you've been used to having it at 60, you just need to adjust. But can I really complain about that? No, because that's exactly what Mario Kart 8 did as well. Mario Kart 8 was 60 frames a second unless you have 3 players or 4 players, in which case it was a locked 30. So Mario Kart World, exactly the same in that sense. Now this is supposedly, the brand new super powerful Switch 2. So is it a bit disappointing that it's not 60? Yes. But the graphics don't get worse. You've still got that excellent draw distance. I didn't notice any pop in. I didn't notice. As far as I could tell, the graphics were exactly the same in the split screen 4-player mode as they were in the full screen 1-player mode. Maybe I'm wrong, but I mean, to my eyes, I didn't notice anything standing out as being downgraded in the graphics. So that's impressive. But for me, I actually think it would have been better to have a bit of pop in and a lower draw distance, or maybe reduce some of the graphical effects, if it meant that we could keep that 60 frames a second. But maybe we couldn't. Maybe the reason why you have the 60 frames a second is not tied to the GPU, it's tied to the CPU, in which case it wouldn't have made any difference. I don't know. So it's a shame that it drops down to 30 frames, but it's not a disaster, and it's still very, very, very smooth, it's completely locked, and I noticed no problems with it. So I absolutely look forward to playing this in multiplayer with friends. I've played Mario Kart 8 with friends for countless hours, and nobody's ever complained that it was only at 30 frames a second, so nobody's going to complain now either. It just would have been nice to be 60, but whatever. I've heard that you can't do proper free roam mode with split screen co-op, or you can, but it's awkward and the P switches aren't there, or they don't work, or I'm not sure. It's not something that I've tried. It's just something I thought I should mention. As I said, I don't play online really very much, so I haven't tried it out. But I think the Knockout Tour mode, it seems like that will be really cool to play online, so I'll probably give it a go. Basically like a 24-player battle royale Mario Kart. And one thing that I like is if you get knocked out, you can enter free roam mode after you're eliminated. So I think that's cool. So you're not just, watching everybody else play and just sitting around waiting until you can play again. And if you got knocked out, right away, then it might be, 10 minutes, 20 minutes, half an hour before you can play again. And that wouldn't be any fun at all. Not as bad if you're in local multiplayer mode and you're sat in the same room, or, you can nip to the toilet, or you can go and grab a slice of pizza or whatever. But if you're online and you were waiting, I can see that wouldn't be fun. But the fact that you can jump into free roam while you're waiting, that seems really cool. That's well done, Nintendo, for thinking of that. Yes, I've heard people complaining that you can't really set up a proper Knockout Tour with multiple friends online. Like, say you have 4 friends and you all meet up online and you want to take part in a Knockout Tour, you have to set up like a private lobby, so the other people in the knockout are just bots. They aren't real online players. And for me, that seems like a real missed opportunity. It seems short-sighted, because Nintendo they want to maximize as many players being able to play as soon as possible. So you'd think they wouldn't want to rely on bots unless there weren't physical players wanting to play. But if there are physical players wanting to play, you'd think that they wouldn't want to be making them wait and putting bots in private lobbies either. I don't know what the logic is. Maybe it's to avoid people, groups of friends ganging up on the strangers or playing favorites of, like, if you have 4 people that are your friends that you've met up with and then just a bunch of random strangers, like maybe the 5 of you would gang up on the random strangers. I don't know, but maybe that could be a fun be a fun experience anyway. I'm really not sure why. I can't imagine it's a technical limitation. So it just seems strange. But again, maybe that's something that can be fixed and that can be patched in the future. Obviously, I've also not used game chat or the webcam stuff. Sorry, that's just not for me. It's so not for me that I've not even bothered buying the camera right now. I might, do I was going to say I might buy it just to do a review. No, I'm not going to. I'm not interested in the webcams. I was possibly interested in the webcam that looked like a piranha plant because I thought that was cool. But then I read it's only 480p, and 480p in 2025 is not what I want from a webcam. So I can't really comment one way or another as to how well it works, but I'm sure there's plenty of other reviews where people will be talking predominantly about the online stuff, and I'm like the opposite. I'm talking about everything except the online stuff. Okay, so we've been talking for a long time. Let's start summarizing and wrapping up, because this is just a first impressions. As I said, I'll do a separate video later down the line on the courses and the characters, and the items and ranking them all. But things I like. What jumps to mind? The music. The music is exemplary, fantastic. Maybe the best Nintendo soundtrack ever. Maybe. The character animation, fantastic. Some of the best character animation I've seen in any game ever. As far as like expressive, cartoony characters, we're not talking, hyper realism, trying to look like photorealistic human beings. No. Like cartoon characters come to life. Yeah, this is absolutely excellent. It's just a shame that it's in a game where the majority of the time you're looking at the back of Mario's head rather than looking at his face. But if this shows what the Switch can do and what Nintendo's programmers and artists can do, I can't wait for a new Mario game with those kind of reactions in there. Or even Mario Wonder was a heck of a lot more expressive with its animation than new Super Mario Brothers U. So yeah, this is just only going to get better with the Switch 2. The character animation, it really shows, what the Switch can do. It's just a shame that, blink and you'll miss it, because it's in a game where the camera angles and lighting and everything else just don't get a chance to show it off. But it is really good, and for replays, and it's fantastic and very, very impressive. I like the fact there's a wide variety of characters, and there's some new characters that I really like. Like Shout to the Cow. The internet seems to love the cow, so but I do as well. It's I don't know. It's so funny of like, okay, Moo Moo Farms. We all know Moo Moo Farms, and okay, now you can be a cow, right? Okay, great. There's a really wide variety of vehicles, and a lot of I think that's another video that I should make, is talking about the variety of vehicles and just slight differences in play styles that come with them. Although, as I said, nowhere near the kind of satisfying, they control completely differently and you have to master them completely differently feeling that Sonic Racing Transformed had. But that's not Mario Kart. That's it. Mario Kart is meant to be pick up and play, and you can give it to your mum, you can give it to your grandmother, you can give it to your little brother, and they'll be able to play. and I assume that there's all the assists and stuff that you usually have there as well. And now I talk about it for little kids, like you can have steering assist, and or maybe not little kids. As I said, I'm sure maybe for people differently abled people, or people with different handicaps or different abilities, it might be very, very, very useful for them. So I'm not trying to be I'm not trying to be offensive by saying for little kids, but it's just those kind of things. Those kind of assists are not things that I personally ever use, so I didn't really think about it. But I didn't think to check whether they're there, but I assume they're there because those kind of things were there in the previous Mario Kart game. There's customization of the vehicles and things as well, and I like that. I like the fact that there's collectibles to customize them. I think there's not as much variety as I would like, and some of the stickers and things aren't as interesting as I would like. But again, there's room to improve that in the future with updates and patches and DLC and maybe microtransactions. But God forbid. I mean, I hope Nintendo wouldn't go down that route, and they just go down the route of, okay, we're going to add things and you have to play the game to earn them, rather than you have to pay 99 cents. We're not Activision or Ubisoft or EA. What else do I like? The classic modes work basically just like I wanted, just like I wanted them to. Or the classic kind of Grand Prix and everything are all there. I was afraid that they might not be, but they are, and they work how you'd expect them to. It's just the difference is, the wider courses and the 24 players. But we're talking about things that I like, so I won't talk about that. Some of the P-switch missions work really well as tutorials, as I said, and teach you techniques to use in races, and they're really smartly designed, and they're really cool, and they're really fun, and it's good. It's really satisfying when you have learnt something kind of by osmosis, and then you get to use it in an actual race, and then you kind of remember, oh yeah, I learnt that in that P-switch mission, and it just I appreciate that. And so far I like many of the main courses. I like many of the main courses that you race on. There's a lot of imagination, there's a lot of variety, but when we get onto things I don't like, some of the course designs are very linear and feel very sparse, especially the ones that are kind of joining one area to another. It feels like, okay, we have these really amazing kind of AAA courses, but in order to get to the next one, you have to waste time on this kind of C grade, perfectly fine but perfectly average area before you get to another AAA course, but there are AAA courses. Things that I don't like. I don't like the fact that it's not consistent, and I certainly don't like the kind of very linear, very sparse nature of some of the areas. Again, as I mentioned, some of the P-switch missions are uninteresting, and the rewards don't really compel you to do them more, and it gets frustrating, especially if you have to go off-road, so you end up, driving really slowly, and unless there's a way around that I haven't learned yet. The grinding and the tricks, as I said, I kind of like them, but they feel half-baked and underutilized, although it is fun when they work. The time of day changes, etc., look cool, but it also means that each track is a bit more homogenized and doesn't have its own specific look or feel tied directly to color and lighting and atmosphere. Doesn't mean that there isn't variety, but it does mean there's less variety, especially visually, than there could have been. The open world and the main tracks being joined together, it actually feels unnecessary, and it limits them, leading to certain parts of the game feeling underwhelming or unpolished. Again, as I said, there's scope for that to be fixed in the future or improved with DLC that can kind of fill it in, or a bit like how Tears of the Kingdom goes back to the world of Breath of the Wild and adds things and fills in spaces and adds stuff above and below, and there's scope to do that. But we're not reviewing what the game could be, we're reviewing what the game is now, and right now there are substantial parts of the game that feel underwhelming, unpolished, dare I say unfinished. But only when comparing to the standards of a AAA Nintendo game. As I say, sometimes it ends up feeling a bit like a kind of Ubisoft game. And many people love Ubisoft games, and there are some Ubisoft games that I love, but I'm thinking of like the kind of worst stereotypes of open world Ubisoft modern era, where it all just feels a bit like empty areas that are hiding loading screens or are just filled with procedurally generated random stuff to waste your time getting to the part of the game that you actually want to get to in order so that they can say, oh, it's 200 hours long. Yeah, but it could have been 10 hours long and be really good, but we made it 200 hours long and there's 10 hours that's good. It's, I don't know. Perils of modern gaming, and Nintendo's having that kind of awkward growing pains feeling here. My least favorite thing about any Mario Kart game is always the unpredictability, and I know that some people, that's what they find fun about it, and I also know that that's kind of what makes it a good multiplayer game for parties or a good family game, because even the most skilled player can lose to a complete beginner because of the items and the randomness and the unpredictability of that. So, obviously I go into any Mario Kart expecting that. But I do feel that with the 24 players on the road at any one time, and they're all collecting items and they're all trying to overtake each other, and that's 23 other people that might get a blue shell, and I don't know, there's items flying everywhere and it can be chaotic, and I know that some people will find that really fun, but for me it feels a bit unbalanced. I'm sure I'll get used to it, but it does leave me feeling I'm not sure it's as fun for me personally as Mario Kart 8. But it's still good. It's still really good. I don't want to be negative. As I said, there's lots of things that I really like about it, especially the music, the character animation. If I just play the classic modes and don't play anything else, it's, in some ways, it's better than Mario Kart 8. So I guess the question is Mario Kart World the best kart racer ever? No, but it has the potential to be with updates further down the line. And yes, it is in certain ways. It depends what you're looking for from a kart racing game. Is it my favorite kart racing game ever? I don't think so. Is it in my top 5? Probably. And that's saying something, because that's of all time, and there's been some excellent kart racing games. I'm not just talking about Mario Kart games either, and there's many excellent kart racing games. One interesting thing will be, will Sonic Cross Worlds be competition? It's that is a game that I believe will be coming out soon. I don't know the exact date of it, but we keep seeing trailers and updates about it, and for me, it looks really interesting. I say interesting because I'm hesitant to say good, because there's things about it that I like and things about it that give me pause. But Sonic has a track record of decent kart racing games. Decent with a question mark. Some of them are amazing. Some of them are just okay. But no, not just okay. They're all good. But I would say the 2 All-Stars games are up there with the best of the Mario Kart games. Maybe they don't beat Mario Kart, but they're up there with the best of. And Crossworlds has some interesting ideas. So it remains to be seen. I think if you are looking for a open world kart racing experience with a lot of depth to it, that's absolutely not going to be what Sonic Crossworlds is, and Mario Kart World is obviously going to be more your cup of tea. But if you're like me and you're more into the kind of Grand Prix and time trials and arcade tournaments, maybe Sonic Crossworlds could be competition for Mario Kart. But we will have to wait and see, because maybe I'm talking out my butt and actually it comes out and it's just rubbish, and I just want to like it because I'm a retro gamer and I loved the days of Mario versus Sonic and the console wars, and it still freaks me out, but in a good way, seeing like Sonic on a Nintendo console. So I'm a fanboy of Sonic, but I'm also a fanboy of Mario. I love them both, so seeing them both together is awesome. Is Mario Kart World the best Mario Kart game ever? Well, again, if you're just about content and variety and depth, yeah, it probably is. Yeah. I don't think it's my favorite Mario Kart game, but I do think it has potential to be with updates and patches. But it's very close. And if you, I love Mario Kart 8, as I said, and if you want more of Mario Kart 8, just it feels the same, it plays the same, but you have new characters, new courses to try. Get this. Play the Grand Prix mode, and there you go. It remains to be seen whether it can beat Mario Kart 8 overall with updates and things. As I said, Mario Kart 8, how it launched on the Wii U, it went through so many updates and so many DLCs and over time. So I'm sure Mario Kart World is not in a finished state how it's been released, but how it's been released right now, is it the best Mario Kart game ever? Some people will say absolutely yes, of course it is, no question. For me, no, but it's in the top 3. It's in the top 3. So did it meet my expectations? And were my fears justified? Did it meet my expectations? Yes. I expected it to be a polished game that's fun to play, that's good in local multiplayer, that I can pick up and play a Grand Prix or do time trials of my favorite courses and just really, go in depth with it like that. Were my fears justified? Well, I was afraid that the open world design would be limiting, and the 24 players at once would be overwhelming, and also would limit the course design. And yes, the open world nature and the 24 players necessity very much limited the design of the courses. But limits are not necessarily a bad thing. If you are a good designer, sometimes artistic limits can actually make you more creative to make the best out of those limits. So I'm looking forward to really diving in and learning all of the main courses, ins and outs, and discovering all the little shortcuts and hidden secrets. And also seeing what new content comes in the long run. So my fears, were they justified? Yes, but not to the point that it ruins the game. Just to the point that it means, for me personally, for my tastes of liking a simple, fun arcade racer that I can practice and get good at, those two things limit it. But for other people, those two things are going to be what makes the game fun and what makes the game great. And it certainly does mean that the game is original and different, and it feels like Mario Kart has gone in a different direction. I guess it's like saying, is Breath of the Wild better than Link to the Past? Well, they're both Zelda games, but it depends what you're looking for as to which you're going to find better. It's almost a nonsensical question. So I'm the one who asked it, so I don't know why I'm arguing with myself. But is the game worth $80? Let's talk about this. $80 is a lot of money, especially in this economy. I don't think anybody is flush for cash right now. So Nintendo essentially have raised the expected price of their top-end games by $20. Because on the Switch, it was $60 until Tears of the Kingdom, and Tears of the Kingdom was $70, and it was the only game that was $70. That was a hard pill to swallow for many people, especially as many people had the impression, oh, well, Tears of the Kingdom is just DLC for Breath of the Wild, and I'm not going to go into that argument. I don't think that's valid, but I understand where people were coming from. But should it have been 70? I would have argued they should have stayed at 60. But they pushed for 70 because development costs and everything else. That's what they said. And but then, rather than us expecting, okay, well, maybe every now and again when there's a game that's had a lot of development costs, maybe it'll cost 70. No, they just went straight to 80. and as I mentioned in the introduction, I'm a developer myself, and I've worked in the entertainment industry for many, many, many years. I know how things work. I've produced many, many movies. I've produced video games. I've produced TV series. I get it. I get having to pay staff. I get the rising costs of creating more and more and more ambitious projects. I understand that. I do think that it's the direction that the games industry was going in anyway. I'm just surprised that Nintendo were the first to release an $80 game and it wasn't Activision or Ubisoft or EA. And in fact, EA have turned around and got some brownie points by saying, no, we're not going to raise the prices of our games to 80, or we don't have any plans to do so at the moment. And that's actually given them some brownie points with gamers in the meantime. And that's crazy. EA getting brownie points for not being greedy and money grabbing. I don't know. It's just not a good look for Nintendo to do that at this time, especially when combined with an already fairly expensive console, and then delaying the pre-launch, and then delaying the pre-orders and talking about tariffs and worrying everybody that the price is going to go even higher, and then raising the price of every single accessory, even things like screen protectors and cases, and $90 Joy-Cons, and my God, it's gaming is not a cheap hobby anymore. But is it worth $80? Sure. Yeah. Yes. Of course it's worth $80 as long as you're going to play it and get the most out of the content. This is a deep game with a lot of variety, a lot to go through. You could play this for hundreds of hours and probably not experience absolutely everything that there is to experience with it. And even then, a racing game, you've always got time trials and things. You can just keep coming back to it over and over and over and over and over and over and over again. As long as you don't get bored, you can have an infinite amount of replayability with a game like this. And a DVD or a Blu-ray of a movie nowadays would cost you $20, and that's probably you're only going to watch it once and it's only 2 hours. So is there $80 worth of entertainment in Mario Kart World? Yeah, of course, without question, absolutely. It's just a shame that by comparison, there are games with just as much gameplay that you can buy for maybe $10, $20. Certainly $60 games, it's commonplace for $60 games to have just as much content as this $80 game. So I don't buy I don't buy the argument that, well, this is a specifically premium product. No, you just wanted to raise the price and you knew that people would pay it because it is the system seller, because it is the game that you want to use to make people buy the system, but also you want to bundle it in with the system so that you can say, oh yeah, the game is expensive, but if you buy the bundle, then it's less expensive, and it makes the bundle look like a better value. Didn't work on me because, as I said, I wanted a shelf copy, but stupid me and ended up paying more money. So is it worth $80? Entirely depends on how you look at it. Is it worth buying the Switch 2 for? If there's no other games on the Switch 2 that you are interested in and you are predominantly a Mario Kart player, and you're just a casual and you just want to have Mario Kart to play at family gatherings when people come around and you have a pizza or you have a few drinks and you just want to play some Mario Kart, is it worth paying the substantial amount of money to buy a Switch 2 specifically to play this version of Mario Kart? Is it that much better than Mario Kart 8 Deluxe? No, it's not. But is the Switch 2 a good console? Yes. Will there be good games on it? Yes. Is this currently the best exclusive game on the console? Yes. So, should you buy a Switch 2 specifically to play this game on day one right now? Well, that's entirely up to you and how much you desperately want to play it. But when you eventually do buy a Switch 2 because you want it for, say, there's 10 games that you want. Like some people, they won't buy a console when there's just one game they want. So they'll wait till there's... For me, it was always 3. I would wait until there was 3 games for a console that I wanted before I bought it. And 3 exclusive games for a console before I bought it. But in this sense, it's Nintendo. I know there's going to be more games that I want, so why not? If you can afford it, sure, go ahead. So, is it worth $80? It depends on if you can afford it, and it depends on how much you really want to play the latest Mario Kart right now. Is it worth buying the Switch 2 for? Do you really, really want the latest Mario Kart? If you do, this is the latest Mario Kart, and some people will think it's the best. So I feel like that's a really rubbish ending for this review, but it's because it's a very, very difficult game to review. There's so much to like about it, and there's also so much to nitpick and complain about. But I think I need to emphasize that for as much as I could probably spend 80% of my time talking about stuff that I don't like, the 20% of my time mentioning the things that I do like is just, it's because it's Mario Kart. It's par for the course. You know it's going to be good, right? So therefore you talk about the things that you wish were better, but it just because you say lots of negative things doesn't mean it's not good. It's good. It's good. Is it great? Yes, it is. It's just frustrating that it's not perfect. And again, we go back to the thing of when most people played Mario Kart 8 for the first time on the Wii U, they had low expectations. It was a failed system. There was negativity around perception of the Wii at the time, and people just thought it was going to be more of the same. People didn't expect very much from Mario Kart 8. Mario Kart 8 ended up to be good, and therefore everybody loved it. Everybody's expecting Mario Kart World to be the best thing since sliced bread, and it's not. So everybody is going to turn around and say that they're disappointed, and I've seen so many people online and on social media saying they're disappointed. But that doesn't mean that it's bad. It just means that your expectations were too high. So if you manage your expectations and you don't expect it to be perfect, but you do expect to have a very fun time playing a Mario Kart game, yes, I can thoroughly, wholeheartedly recommend this game. If you can afford it, And if you're going to buy a Switch 2 anyway, or if you just love Mario Kart that much and you've been waiting 11 years for a new game that's not on a mobile phone, yeah, why not? Knock yourself out, buy it. Mario Kart. That $80 though. Jeez.